Hi to Lee and the Sweet Life. This is a place where you can learn how to cook, make mistakes and be okay with that, and maybe make some friends on the way. Please subscribe and ring that bell and check out my website at leeandthesweetlife.com.
Good afternoon, my lovely Cakealicious people. Lee from Fondant and Apron Strings here. It's time for the next YouTube build video in Lee and the Sweet Life. So today I thought I would make something that I've got to make for the Cake Cafe anyway. And these are cookies that you can decorate. They're sweet butter cookies, but they hold up really well when you bake them, so they don't spread too much, which means you don't have that sort of gloopy joining together of whatever shape you cut out with. So these are great. So I'm going to show you first of all how to do it, the things we need, and I'm going to do it in stages obviously because you'll see why, but it'll all come together right at the end, which is good. And then I'm going to show you a very quick way of decorating them. At some point in another tutorial I'll show you how to do royal icing runouts, which is really good fun. But that's not the way I'm going to do them today. I'm going to cover them in fondant and then I'm going to pipe them with details on with icing sugar, royal icing. Today I'm making them into a castle shape. If you can see this, just because that's what I need to do, because they're for wedding cake favours and they're having a wedding in a castle, so of course they need castle cake cookies. But I have made them in lots of different shapes before, notes and cupcakes. You know, I didn't realise how many shape cutters I had until I thought, oh, I'll just get some out for here. And I haven't got all of them out. And so this is it. I like this one. This is a teacup. That's really one of my favourite. And this is another one of my favourite. This is a button. And we've got bikes and champagne bottles. We've got Mr. and Mrs., which are really cute. And we've got an aeroplane here, and I think much more on trend is the unicorn. Isn't that so cool? But actually I'm going to be doing the castle cookies. So at the end of the video, I'll give you the recipe. I'll write it down and talk you through it. If you have any questions, let me know. Please subscribe and ring that bell. I cannot believe I have 72 subscribers. I'm so happy. I didn't think I'd have any when I first started. So I'm going to switch this off, go to the next one, put on an apron and start doing. See you in a bit.
Okay, here you go. So you can see I put the butter into the bowl, and I'm going to use my finger just to show you how soft that is. Can you see I can put my finger through it? So that's room temperature. And then I'm just going to literally dump the sugar into it. There we go. Difficult to do this with one hand, actually. Right. And then because this is a stand mixer, which you have to lift it up, and KitchenAid, if I get a lot of sponsors, the first person, but a lot of viewers, the first person I'm going to do is for sponsors try and get KitchenAid because I just love them. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So the big noise, here it comes. So I'm going to carry on combining those two together, and I'll get back to you when the noise is finished and they're all done. I'm just going to scrape down the sides because I want it to be nice and light and fluffy. And this is just something that you need to do, you know. Pop those back in there. Okay, told you this was real life. Here we go again. Okay, still clean. I'm going to switch that off. I'm going to switch it off, and you can see that it's sort of combined nicely together. It's not over creamed. And then I'm going to add the 2 large eggs with the vanilla in there, and then I'm going to scrape that down again. And I'm going to let that mix for maybe 5 minutes because I want it all to become really nice and creamy. Okay, so I'm going to let this go just for a second to show you, and then I'm going to switch it off and come back to it. So here's the mixture when it's been creamed for about 5 minutes. So it's all combined and nice and fluffy, and I've scraped it down 3 or 4 times during the process. And what I'm going to do is to just lower that and dump all the, I love the technical term is dump the plain flour along with the baking powder in there. And then I'm going to just set that back to mix again, and I'll show you when it's all combined what it looks like and then what we're going to do next. So I won't show you mixing because it's really interesting, but I'll show you once it all be mixed. Okay, see you later. Next stage, this is what it looks like when it's all mixed up, and it's entirely up to you. See if I can get this out. It's entirely with one hand. It's entirely up to you how long you mix that for. You'll see it all come together. But clue to it being done is if you grab a handful and just squidge it. Again, another technical term. Can you see how it all sort of comes together nice and smoothly? Let's do that again. Grab a handful again, one-handed. So grabbing a handful and just squidging it together, that's what you're looking for. All right. So I'm going to show you what happens next, and let's do that.
So here you go, I've just literally tipped the mixture from the mixing bowl and made it into this. So what I'll show you how I did that. I've separated it into 2 because it's easy to handle once you're ready to roll it out. Can you see? It's all like in bits. Just give it push it all together until you get a nice smooth bit of wonderfulness. And actually, if you want to taste this, it's really good just like this. There we go. Alright, and then I'm just going to move that out of the way. Don't waste anything. Little bit of cling film. Pop that into the middle of the cling film and just fold that up onto there like that. There you go. Out of the way. And then just push it down again, because the flatter you get it at this point, the easier it is to roll out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop those into the fridge for 20 minutes just to cool down a little bit. Actually, now I'm going to make it 15 minutes because we've got super duper fridges, but it depends on your fridge, but 15 minutes for here. And while that's doing, I'm going to be making the other batch of the same mixture for the other batch that I need for this. So I'll come back to show you how to cut them out, what to do, how to freeze them. There you go, see you in a minute. Hello, back again for these sugar cookies. I'll tell you what I've done. I've taken them out of the fridge and they've been in for 15/20 minutes, depending on your fish. And what you should be feeling is they're just a little bit firmer, not icy cold or anything, but just a little bit easier to handle. And I've unwrapped one, and here's a big tip. If you're rolling out something sweet, as in sweet pastry for a tart or something like that, or cookies, instead of using flour to dust your surface and your rolling pin and your cookie base, use icing sugar. Couple of reasons. One, it tends to flour tends to dry out your pastry and things like that. It absorbs the liquid. Icing sugar tends not to, and also if it's a sweet pastry, it just adds to the sweetness of it, and it sort of disintegrates in the cooking. So that's worth a tip. So what I've done is just dusted my board with the icing sugar and trusty rolling pin. I do have several of these, but this is the one that I had to hand. So whichever rolling pin you like, that's good. Oh, I've just got a notice on there. Let's get rid of that. And just roll out quite forcibly to get to the required depth of cookie pastry. Now I'm going to show you the depth rather than have sort of measuring it. So let's just show you. Where's my cookie cutter? So there we go. Now I don't want them too thin for baking and also for handling afterwards for decorating. So this is the sort of thickness you need. Can you see? Okay, so I'm going to do a few of those, and then I'm going to show you what to do next with them. And then I'm going to obviously get on with the rest of them, because there's nothing more boring, is there, than watching somebody cut out things or mix things, or, you know. So I'll cut them out, and then I'll show you how to freeze them. Oh gosh, look, that's broken off, the little turret there, so let's put that aside and add that again to the next one. I told you this was real. Oh, and that's happened again. So if that happens, what I should be telling you to do is to add some little bit of icing sugar around there, a little bit of icing sugar onto there, and that will stop your cutter from sticking. There you go. Let's do that. Very gently. Okay, that's good. And then there it is. Okay. So I'm going to carry on doing that, and then I shall show you how to freeze them. Okay, so I'll be back in a minute. While I was rolling this out, something suddenly happened, and I thought I'd just tell you the tip for it. So sometimes it sticks no matter how much icing sugar you put on the surface or the board. If you've got a large palette knife, literally, instead of having to re-roll it, literally just, I'll show you, just scrape it underneath the biscuit, and can you see it just comes up, and then you can just cut them out again and again. And if you have little bits left over, obviously once you've cut the things out, just rework it back into a ball and start to roll it out again. Like I say, it's very, very forgiving, this cookie dough. So if that happens, that's another tip. And also I'm using the large spatula to lift up the cookies and put them on the tray, which I will show in just a second, just so that they all come out in one piece rather than me trying to pick them up. So let me show you what I've done here. On this tray, it has to be something that you can pop into the freezer. I have just broken off some non-stick baking parts. There's lots of sheets just to fit this, and I'm putting the cookies onto the tray slash baking parchment in layers, and on this particular one I can get 12 per layer, and then I'm adding another piece of parchment on the top, and then I am let me just roll a little bit more out, and then I am adding another layer of cookies. So so far I think I've got about just over 60 cookies, and I just want to show you how it's done, and then I shall get back to it. So once they've all done, once I've filled the whole sheet and laid them up, can you see here? Look. Can you see how we've got layer after layer after layer of cookies to go in the freezer? And once you've filled a layer up, then you just pop another piece of non-stick baking parchment on top, like that. Put another layer of cookies on, depending on how big your tray is to go in the freezer. That's how many you'll get on, and just keep going. And then once they're done, once you fill that, add the top layer add another layer of the non-stick baking parchment, and then pop that in the freezer. Freeze them for overnight. That's what I normally do. You can freeze them till they're frozen, but if you just do one day and then freeze them the next, and if you want to use them the next day, that's cool. And like I said before, if you don't want to use them the next day, they'll stay in your freezer for maybe 3 months. And if you want to keep them that long, once they're frozen, take them off individually, the frozen cookies individually, and put them into a freezer bag, and then put them back in the freezer, and then you can just take out as many as you want to. So once I finish this, I'm going to pop this into the freezer, and then the next time you see me, I'll be baking them, and then the next time I'll be cooking them. Okay, see you in a bit. Hi, this is take 3 just of this segment alone. So I'm so technical. Forgot the lights first time. Camera moved. Oh, no idea what. Phone moved. I just wanted to go with. I've just taken these out of the freezer. They were covered up with parchment paper like that, and this is how easy they are to take off. That's literally it. And if you wanted to take them off the paper once they're frozen, and pop them into a bag and back in the freezer, so you can take out just a few or 1 or 2 whenever you need them, that's fine. Like I said, they'll keep up to 3 months, so you can make them well in advance of your party, of your wedding, anything like that. I'm going to just pop them onto here. I'm going to put that tray there, so I'll have to reach over. On the tray, I have got non-stick baking parchment, and also you might notice I have got teapot lids, which is a really strange thing, but because of it work, we have this magnificent oven, which is a turbo fan oven, which is awesome. But it is, because it's turbo fan, it tends to blow up the corners of this if there's nothing there. There's nothing weighting it down. So because we have teapots, etc. in our cafe, and they do get broken, I collect, people think I'm odd, but I do collect the teapots of the broken tea lids of the broken teapots. And I put them in the corner as weights. That's what I do. So I am very, very strange, but it works, and I'm all about, you know, not buying new things. If you don't have any of those, sometimes I put cutlery around the edges if that happens. So, comments please. So I'm popping these on here single, about maybe 1.5 inches apart. They are going to spread a little bit, but the recipe is so to keep the shape, so they're not going to spread a lot. I'm going to finish doing this off camera, and then I'm going to pop them into the oven, the heated oven at 180. The temperature first, timing first of all, I'll start it at 15 minutes, and then I shall see what they look like. I'm not looking for brown. I'm looking for very, very, very pale golden brown. And then once they're out, I will take them out. Once they're done, I'll take them out and cool them. And then the next time you see them, I will be showing you how to decorate them. Okay, so see you in a bit. So here we are with the baked cookies. I'll just wait for my phone to stop winging around because I've just switched it on, and if you know me, it's still on a piece of wire hanging up off a shelf. So, hey. So this is what they look like when they've just come out the oven, and this is what they should be looking like. These were 12 minutes. Actually, they were 12 minutes. But I'm thinking on your oven they'll be 15, which is what I said before, but check after maybe 10, okay? This is what they should be looking like. So not uber brown, but nice golden and light, and that's the sort of thickness they'll come out. So they haven't spread that much. I mean, this is the cutter, and if I put the cutter on there, you'll see how perfect that is, okay? So they're really good for decorating. I shall take these off. Now my weights in the oven. What I've done is I have coloured some fondant, some sugar paste, and I always use Bako if anybody's interested. I know Renshaw is fabulous, but Bako is the one I use. It is exactly the same, and it's cheaper. Okay, so I've coloured it grey. It may not be for every colour, but you have to remember I'm making these for a wedding, and the theme of the wedding is grey. And I'll show you at the end. If you stick around for the end, I'll obviously post the recipe of the cookies, but I will also show you them next to the cake that's delivered, just so you can see the theme of the whole thing, and that'll be nice. So obviously the cookies, they need to be grey, and I'm going to pipe them in white. So I've used some grey Sugar Flare Shadow Grey, which is actually my favourite for the greys. It doesn't go much deeper than this, and that's why I like it, so I can put in as much as I want to. And I've done that, and what I've done is rolled it out on icing sugar and cut it out with the same cutter. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is spend a lot of time. I think I've said to you I've got about over 90 cookies here to do, so it's going to take me a while. So I'll start some, and then I'll come back to you when I've covered them all and show you them piping. So what I've got here is some edible glue. You don't want to put water on here, obviously, because you don't want the cookies to be soggy. They've got to stay nice and crisp. And what I'm doing is putting it onto the, show you, putting it onto, let's get the right side. Okay, so obviously the cookie's that way, so you have to put the glue on the opposite side of the fondant. And I'm not putting glue everywhere, I'm just putting the turret in the corners, and then just fitting it onto it, making it sort of fit nicely. There you go. Squashing it down, so that will keep it in place, and that fondant will dry by the end of the day. By dry, I don't mean go horribly nasty, it just firms up a little bit, which means it's easier to pipe. So after a couple of hours I'll be piping these. So I'm going to do a couple more, and then I shall, because I have a huge pile here, and then I shall leave you and come back later, because it is the most boring thing to watch, I have to say. There you go. However, I guess again and again and again I say this, just give it a go. It's not difficult. I think when I train people for cakes and anything like that, or give them cooking lessons, I think what scares them the most is the idea of the whole of the item. So if I say to them, right, we're going to make this wedding cake, and I show them a really intricate wedding cake, maybe a top hat wedding cake or something like that, or even making some roses, it's the whole thing that daunts them. But when you break it down into sections, anything, whether it's cooking or baking, is easier than you think. Alright. So I'm going to carry on doing these. There's another one, okay? And then I shall come back when it's time to decorate. Right, so here I am, after the cookies have been baked and covered in the grey fondant. As you can see, I've got lots of trays here piled up, 'cause it's going to take me a couple of hours to pipe these. So I'm just going to put some music on, get into the head zone. Actually, what I'm going to do is listen to an audio book. I'm really not that cool. These are covered in grey fondant because the theme of the wedding is grey. So, but like I said, any shape, any colour. I've left these overnight, so they're not hard. They've just got a nice coat on them, okay, to give my icing a bit of resistance. What else do I have? I have a big pot of royal icing. Now let me tell you about royal icing. You can make it yourself using egg whites, etc. Loads of recipes out there. You know, we're all into Twitter and all that sort of thing, and YouTube. Hopefully that's why you're watching me. But I find, because we use a lot of it here and I use a lot of it, I go for the quick and easy method, which is Square's Kitchen royal icing. Oh, do I get some sort of freebie for that? I probably don't, but anyway, it is awesome. I've used it for years. A couple of reasons. One, because of the health thing, salmonella with the egg whites, which is what you use. And also we use it such a lot, it's such an easy thing to do. All you do is literally powder in, add water, just make sure you follow the instructions on the back, and after a few times you'll just be able to eyeball it, and it's absolutely brilliant. And you just keep whipping it until it turns into this wonderful white thing of royal icing. I'm just going to take my coat off, or my top off. I'm not sure if I've got, this is done the next day, so I'm not sure if I've still got the same headband on. Let me know. I'm also covered in icing sugar, so what else do I have? I have got a disposable icing bag. Ooh, this table's moving. Disposable icing bag, only because it's what I had to hand, and also I wanted to show you how to nip the end off. I usually use recycled ones, so please don't have a go at me, but I wanted to show you how to do this. We very, very rarely use plastic in our place. It's don't even get me started, but I wanted to show you. I have got a nozzle, which is without my glasses, a number 3. Again, it's up to you what you use. I like a number 3. I have a nozzle holder. There's some sort of technical term for this, and I have a brush and some scissors and a clip. I'll show you. So first of all, you've got to fill your bag, which is probably not the easiest thing, but I shall show you exactly what I'm going to be doing with it. And I should have had this earlier. So what you do is you get this little bit, pop it into your bag, okay, and then you clip the end off. Now don't over clip. It's best to, it's like hair, you can always put some, take more off, you can't put the back on. What you're looking for is for the hole to go sort of a third up this piece here. So, and there's so many times I've done this, especially on the ones that, the reusable ones, I've got the hole too big and had to buy new ones. So I've learned my lesson. So can you see there? So the plastic is up to there. And then you get your nozzle, put your nozzle on, and then you get the other bit which screws on, and that will keep your nozzle on and your plastic. Right, so easiest way, you can try holding it and pushing it in and all that sort of thing, but actually the best way is, seriously, make your life easy. Get a cup, ignore the brand name on there because it's something that I bought from the US, and actually I think I got it free from the US for basically having too many cups of green tea while I was in there. Okay, so, and then get a great big dollop of this, not too big, not too small, and dollop it in there. And that will save
a hand. So you've got a hand free to squidge it down. I'm going to put two, sort of one big dollop and one sort of half a dollop in there. I think that dollop should be a technical and scientific measuring term, because I think that's, you know, reasonable. Okay, see, now, you could be thinking there's not a lot in there, that's not going to go very far, and that's fine, okay, because what I want to be able to do is handle it. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to move that over. And then I'm going to literally just push it down, because you see there's this gap here, which is air, and I want to get all that air out. So squidge it down until all that air is out. Right as far as you can. You'll feel it when you can't push it anymore. And then to make my life easier, I'm going to twist it really tight there, and then I'm going to get one of these clips. These clips cost nothing, and they're reusable, and we have hundreds of them. And seriously, if you don't use them for anything else other than this and things to freeze, then it's worth it. So that's how it is. So how we're going to do it, and we do this, I show people this in the 101 for icing class. Again, this is how I do it. Okay, so I grip with the here, so nice and tight. Hold those two together, and the pressure will come from these three fingers. Okay, so you pushed against the palm. So that's what you can see. It's already coming out. That's where the pressure comes from. So, which means if you push with this finger, in my experience, then you're gonna have less control, because that's the big pushy hard finger. These fingers you can have a lot of control. So this is the hand that you push, and this is the hand that you steer. Okay, and the only way to do this is literally to practice. Suggestions are, I normally get my students to, I normally have some like sketches, just drawings that I've photocopied, and literally what I get them to do is just go up, I keep saying literally, what is that? Is that better than like? I don't know. To go over the drawings, and if you can do it in one push, then that is great. Don't put your bag onto your cookie or your drawing, whatever you're practicing on, okay? Because this will happen. You get squished. So you start off, and then you lift it up and just lift it above the surface and move your hand across while you're pushing at the same time. And then when you want to stop pushing before you stop moving, okay? Practice that. It's not rocket science, honestly. Just give it a go off the cookie before you give it a go on. So I'm going to show you. I've also got this pastry brush, a nice clean pastry brush, and I know there's some icing on the top of some of these cookies, so what I'm going to do is just give them a little bit of a brush. I'm also going to scrape that off there, because, you know. Right, I'm going to show you as close to this camera as possible. Oh, you must get some new cameras. Oh, what I haven't said is I've got some branded fizzy drink here. Okay, so cookie. Make whatever shape you want. Actually, there's the best place. Okay, so I'm going to start at one corner, and I'm going to go all the way around, and it's probably better if I had my glasses on. Up and down. I shall do this, and I shall put my glasses on. Now I'm going to try and do this in just one push. Can you see I haven't stopped? Where's my glasses? There they are. Okay. Do you know, there's nothing worse than trying to show somebody what should be happening, and then it doesn't happen. When I'm doing lessons and showing people how to colour cakes 101 with fondant, my cake is always the worst cake, because I'm trying to make things go wrong so I can put them right. So my cake always looks the worst. Okay, so obviously that's the first thing. Now I'm going to make some turrets and fill it in. Can you see that? Okay, I hope so. So what I want to do is I want to make some balconies. So I'm here, down, stop, and when you get to the place that the end, stop, push in. I'm going to make a balcony here, down, and down. Okay, and I just want to do a cross in there, because just to make that a little bit fun, and I'll do some dots in there and that one. Okay, I want to do a couple of windows, so start it, pull it down, stop, and maybe some dots around here. So these, like I said, I've got a lot of these to do. They are not, cookies are not my speciality. I'm going to put some dots in there, but, and I'm going to put a little window in there, and one down there. Okay, so there are lots. If you want to know how to really decorate cookies, I mean like artistic, there are people out there who are just, I admire so much. I will show you in another video how to royal ice Ron cookies, which is great fun. But if you want somebody who does it, that's what they do. Just look out there and you'll find. But I'm just showing you obviously basics. So this is one of the cookies, right? And I'm just going to do that again to show you. Now, especially if you're making these for children. Okay, so nice and tight. And I'm going to try and do one push around. Okay, so you start and then direct it with the other finger, go around. So if you're making these for children, and actually, for instance, if you're doing fairies or cars or even these castles, you can get as creative as you want to. These are all going to go in bags with ribbons on. And actually, it's probably best not to talk while I'm doing this, because as I'm talking, my hands go like this. Oh, let's have some balconies. There we go. Some windows. Some around here. Oh, another window there. And another window there. Oh, hello. There you go. Right, I'm going to do the other 88. I'm going to put on my latest book, which is, I think it's Hopperly's Second, so I'm going to be listening to that for the next couple of hours. And then the next time you see these cookies, they will be all packaged up, and they will be next to the wedding cake that goes with them, just so I'll show you the theme. And if you wait to the end of all of that, you'll see I'll give you the recipe for them and all that. Please subscribe, please click the bell. I've got 80 subscribers. I am overjoyed to have 80 subscribers. It's quite shameful that I have only 80, but thank you so much if you've subscribed and passed it on to your friends. I really appreciate it, because this is all about, I keep saying this is all about being real and, you know, giving it a go. No shiny things, and you know, sometimes things go wrong and you have to put them right. And anyway, thank you so much. See you next time. Sugar cookie recipe, which I've tried to convert from cups, and I've used the internet, so just double check what the cups are in grams. Obviously, for some reason they all vary in grammage. I've taken it from my cookbook, this is my personal cookbook, and as you can see, it's full of chocolate and things. So when I die, this is the only thing my kids are going to get, I think. So anyway, here we go for the sugar cookies. So 6 cups, which on the conversion thing I looked at was 816 grams of plain flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 2 cups or 457 grams of butter. Remember, butter for cookies and margarine for cakes. 2 cups of caster sugar, which is 402 grams, 2 large eggs, 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Okay, and this makes approximately 60 to 70 cookies, depending on the cutter size and how thick you want them. And this is how you do it. So you cream the butter and sugar together. Give it at 5. It'll turn light and fluffier, and you'll see what it is. On a medium speed for maybe 5 minutes. Add the eggs and the vanilla together. Make sure you decant them into a cup so you don't get any shells and anything in there. Add those. Don't be precious. Just dump them all in. Make sure you scrape down 4 or 5 times during beating. Leave them for, I don't know, 10 minutes on a beat, 5 to 10 minutes. You'll see. And then once they're all beaten in, add the flour and the baking powder together. Just dump it in and make sure you scrape it down a lot. And you'll see on the video how it's supposed to come out. and when you squeeze it, then it's ready. You'll see it. Wrap it in cling film. Because it's quite a big batch, what I do and did was to separate it into two and wrap both in cling film. Make sure you flatten it nicely, as flat as you can, before you put it in the fridge for 15 to 20 minutes. That just makes it easier when you take it out to roll it out. And when you're rolling it out and cutting it, use icing sugar rather than flour. And these cookies are to be decorated, so you need to freeze these cookies before you bake them. And what I haven't put on here, let me just take the lid off that pan, is bake them 180 for start with 10 minutes. I bake mine for 12 minutes, so start at 10 at 180 and then go to 12, and if you need to, check them every 30 seconds after that. I'm not joking, every 30 seconds rather than a minute after that. You want them to be sort of gold around the edges and very, very, very light, and then leave them to cool completely before you start to decorate them. So hope that is helpful. Let me know how you do. I'd love to see some photos of your decorated cookies.